Welcome to episode 26 of the Rise Fitness and Nutrition podcast. I am your host Carlo. Today we are talking about a hot topic. Why is it hot? Because we're talking about calories, and there's a lot to say about it, but I want to make it simple for you to understand if you need to count calories and why. And I'm sure you'll find this interesting, so happy listening! Calorie counting. Wow, there's a lot of debate on this topic, and everybody's talking about it. So I figured it might be useful if you and I talk about this in a clear, simple way, once and for all. Now, let's give a super simple definition of what a calorie is. Calorie is a heat measurement. Really, as easy as that. And it is the amount of heat needed to raise the temperature of a specific quantity of water by 1 degree. And that's it. There's nothing else to say about what is a calorie by itself. And that goes without saying, when they measure calories in food, they give an estimate of how much heat certain foods will develop. And then they give you an estimate of calories. Now, I said an estimate on purpose, so when we see the nutrition facts on labels, the calories that they have there are not necessarily super 100% crazy accurate. They are a very good estimate, and they are based on a database. It's not like they take every time, if you buy a sandwich, they don't take the sandwich every time, they burn it in a laboratory, and they see how much temperature is needed, and they just make all the calculation. They know they have some standards, so they know that, for instance, bread will develop this amount of temperature, and ham will develop this amount of temperature, and based on that, the calories in your food are estimated. So this is the one thing I want you to keep in mind. Calories in food labels are not 100% accurate, but for the sake of our discussion, for the sake of your calorie counting, it's perfectly fine. There's no need to obsess over small amounts of value. That being said, let's talk about calorie counting. You might have heard them all, you might have read them all. Calories don't matter. Every calorie matter, just calories in, calorie out matter, and probably others. Now, here is what I think it matters. I think that calories do matter. I think that calories in matter, but I disagree when I hear that calories in and calories out, it's all that matters, because not all the calories are the same. If I eat 1,000 calories in ice cream and chocolate, it's a lot different than having the same amount of calories, 1,000, from meat, carbohydrates, veggies, and fruits. It's a lot different, and the reason behind this is that the macronutrients and micronutrients behind the food choices you make changes everything entirely. Now, if you want to be strict from a number perspective exclusively, if you want to lose weight, and you have to eat for your diet, say, for example, 1,500 calories, and that will be your calorie deficit. Now, the food composition you choose might be an interesting topic for a discussion, because if you're strict and you just look at the numbers, if you eat 1,500 calories of chocolate and ice cream and candies, you will lose weight no matter what. But that is a lot different than having the same amount of calories in all food, because the macronutrients, as I said before, are different. So either way, you lose weight. But if you lose weight eating only, say, sweets and cakes and desserts, your body composition and probably your blood values, your blood work, will be awful. But if you lose weight eating whole foods, your body composition, your muscle mass, your strength will be preserved, and you will gain advantage from that. See what I mean? It doesn't make any sense to look at purely numbers and values. You need to understand that behind calories, there are macronutrients. And that is the second super important concept I would like you to remember from today. Now, macronutrients. Macronutrients matter because they help maintaining an ideal body composition towards your goal. Now, let me say a little bit more about it. Macronutrients, as I'm sure you know, are carbohydrates, protein, and fats. Now, of course, they do carry their own caloric value. For example, protein and carbohydrates, 1 gram of each, carries 4 calories. and 1 gram of fat carries 9 calories. Now, I don't want to go super deep in numbers and equations and calculations, but just to help you understand, protein and carbohydrates have the same caloric value, and fat has a higher caloric value. So for the sake of your, say for example, weight loss journey, of course, the composition of the calories you eat every day matters, right? But still, if you had to eat a specific amount of calories and you stay within that, the way you play around with numbers and the way you play around with macronutrients might not have a key role for the diet itself, but for your body composition, it definitely has. Do you understand where I'm going with this? Now again, like if you have a specific amount of calories for your weight loss or weight gain or whatever your goal is, the approach I would suggest you to have is to first focus on the most important macronutrient in our diet, which is protein. So focus on your protein first. Have at least 1 gram of protein per kilo or pound of your body weight, if possible. If you cannot have that much protein because for you it's difficult, build towards it gradually. Start with 0.8 per kilo or pound of body weight and gradually build. And again, you don't have to stop once you reach 1 gram, but 1 gram should be kind of your goal. Then you can slowly increase. I, for myself, have around 2 grams of protein per kilo of my body weight daily, on average. Once you have that cleared and figured out, here is what you do. You eat carbohydrates and fats that fit your calorie goal. As easy as that. Seriously, you want to focus on one thing only, which is protein, hit your goal, and the rest will fall into place. Now, how do you know if you are in your range or not? And I'm not gonna lie, this is the hard part. Well, you got to count your calories. And how you do that? You measure the food that you eat raw, and then you cook it. And I understand, oh boy, this is a pain in the neck. And it's not easy, it takes time, but it pays off in the long term. And unless you buy all processed food that has a label with the calories and nutrition facts ready, which I do not recommend to have your entire diet based on, well, unless you do that, you have to do one thing. Buy your whole food, measure it when it's raw, cook it, and then eat. And then you know your macros. Now, it is tough, as I said before, but I did this in the past. Now, to do this 7 days a week, all of a sudden for 3 meals a day, might be scary. And it is scary, honestly. So what I recommend you, and what I also did myself, is to start gradually. And there are 2 approaches to this. You can either choose 1 meal a day every day, and you measure it, no matter what, or you can choose 1 day a week where you measure your 3 meals or all of your meals, snacks and drinks included, always. And you can choose one of these approaches, and then gradually, when you are more comfortable, you increase. Instead of choosing, say for instance, 1 meal every day, you choose the same meal as before and you add 1 a couple of days a week. For example, you measure, I don't know, you measure dinner every day because it's convenient for you time-wise, and then maybe 1 or 2 times a week you measure dinner and breakfast or lunch. And the same goes for the other approach. You choose 1 day a week where you measure everything, and you do this consistently. Once you're comfortable, you add. And seriously, this is the easiest way and the less going out of your mind way to start measuring your calories consistently. And yeah, I can hear you saying like, oh man, I don't want to do this. It's so much work. But hey, here's the bad news. To change your body, you need to put some work in. And there's no way around it. Again, the other way is that you find a company that provides you food prep or ready-made meals, but that costs a lot of money. So if you can afford that, who am I to say no? But for the majority of us, that would be very expensive. So the quickest way to do that is to learn to do it by yourself. And on the other hand, if you go out for dinner and drinks with friends, there's no need to go obsessed over what you're eating. because as you are, I'm pretty sure, very well aware, going out for dinner once or twice a week will not ruin your progress, because the day after you go back to your regular routine and you stick to the plan. And that's it. And it's a dirty job, but somebody has gotta do it. Now again, unless you pay somebody else to cook for you consistently, you gotta learn to do it yourself. And I had no experience, so I have learned. I made mistakes, I became better, I became faster, and I improved. Now, do I measure and count my calories every day? No particularly. But I do it because I have been doing this consistently for a long time, and I am confident that what I eat is within the range I expect. And mind you, I said range, within the range I expect, because I don't want to obsess being very precise. I need to eat 1,847 calories and it has to be that. No, that makes no sense. And I don't want you to obsess over that. I would like you to stay in a range, plus minus 10% of the calories you are expected to eat. And for me, this has been working normally because my weight doesn't fluctuate that much. It's pretty much within the same range, which is exactly what I want. I'm trying to gain weight and my weight is slowly going up, but it's still within a range. And that's fine. That's fine. So when I see online the debate that, oh, calories don't matter, you can eat whatever you want. Well, no, I disagree. Calories do matter. Macronutrients matter more. But ultimately, it's about learning what works for you, and you only. So to wrap it up, what you need to do: figure out the calorie range you need, figure out the protein you need based on your body weight, and then based on those two levels, carbohydrates and fats will fall into place. It requires time, it requires dedication, and it requires that you start measuring your weight. So buy a kitchen scale. And trust me, buy a kitchen scale that goes at least 3 kilos, because if you cook a lot of food, it's a lot easier. Write down what you're having on a daily basis, and believe me, you will see the results in your body. That's it for today. What do you think about it? Are you convinced? Are you going to start counting your calories? Let me know on my Instagram channel at thecarl.fit. If you like this podcast, I would really appreciate it if you could share with your friends on Instagram that you're listening to this and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. That will be super helpful. Happy rest of the week.